ZUS Coffee started with just one coffee kiosk in 2019, with a dream to serve as many people as they could with a good freshly brewed coffee. Fast forward a few years, that dream is now one of the largest coffee chain outlets in Malaysia. And they are not stopping there. ZUS has expanded beyond Malaysia's borders, now brewing in Brunei, Singapore, the Philippines, and many more to come. Now, growth like this doesn't happen by accident. Behind ZUS Coffee is what I like to call the A-team. Their management isn't just managing, they're pushing boundaries, constantly asking, what's next? Without their drive and vision, ZUS Coffee wouldn't be the success story it is today. And let me tell you something surprising. Funding was never a problem for them. Instead of chasing after investors, ZUS focused on what truly matters: growth and operations. The results? Investors came knocking on their door, eager to be part of the journey. So how does a local coffee chain grow to this size, expand overseas, and stay different in a sea of competition? I had a conversation with Vernon, the COO of ZUS Coffee, to find out. This is so different.
Today's guest, I think, is no stranger to a lot of people. We have seen Vernon appearing on social media and all that. He's one of the co-founder of ZUS Coffee. I must say, ZUS Coffee is one of the fantastic company in Malaysia. I mean, if you look at the Malaysia FMCG, the Formeka scene, right? How many Malaysian company can scale like hundreds of stores in a short span of time? I think ZUS is probably one of the very few, right? My burning question would be, how did you manage to scale up so quickly? From 2019, one kiosk, until today, like 5 years down the road, you have like, I think 600 stores now.
Honestly, we don't know. Because when we first started the first store, right, it was only out of a 200 square feet kiosk itself, right? And then along the way, I remember 2020 was very much experimental. So we were experimenting a lot of things. First store was below an office building. Second store was in a neighborhood mall. The third store was also a neighborhood mall as well. Then suddenly we said, hey, let's try shop lots. And at that point of time was also COVID. So there's a lot of uncertainties and all, right? So we don't really have any direction back in that days. But of course, we know that we want to become bigger. I think we ended with 20, slightly less than 20 stores. I think 18, 19 stores in 2020. Then in 2021, only we decided and said that let's try to push to 60 stores. And funny thing is that when we set 60 stores, right, that was right before they announced the total lockdown, right before Chinese New Year.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah. So we're like, wow, can still do it. So again, we don't know. But the funny thing is that every time when we set all these goals, right, it happens. Yeah. So we ended 2021 with 60 stores. And then how did we set the next goal or target, right, for 2022 was very much based on how many stores we were able to open at the last month of the year. So
why so specific at the last month of the year?
Because last month is like, I don't know, as a student, I always do things last minute, right?
Oh, okay.
So at the last month of that 2021, I think we did 10 stores a month.
Oh.
To us, it was a big deal because we had like 50 stores in November. Then by December, we had 60 stores, right? So it was like a big deal. Then we told ourselves, we can actually open 10 stores a month. Why not let's stretch that over 12 months and open 120 stores in 2022? Yeah, and that was a whole rationale of how we plug numbers from the sky.
Okay.
Right? Then 2022, we had 180 stores. Then we said that, 180 stores, then we'll be able to make an impactful, message out and say that we are becoming bigger. Then, true enough, in 2022, we managed to open 180 stores. Then same issue again, same thing where the final month of the year, we opened 15 stores that month. I was like, wow, breakthrough. Last year, we managed to do 10 stores a month. Now we managed to do 15 stores. Then when we times it by 12, 180, double of 180, right? So then we say, 2023, let's open 180 stores. And that was a natural thing. Yeah. But I think what we learned throughout the journey was very much constantly structuring to be able to cater for scale, making sure that the business was made to be able to open that many stores. Fast forward 5 years, we have 630 stores now.
I think one of the reasons that gives you the confidence that you can do 10 stores a month, 15 stores a month is because within a short span of time, I think your first kiosk, it only took 9 months for you to make money, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah.
I think that gives you a lot of confidence that, every store I open within a year, I can get back the money, and therefore I can continue to scale. But maybe that was just lucky. What was the factor that gave you the confidence that I can do it 10 times a month and I'm still able to make money within 9 months?
Okay, so I think the 9 months is profitable,
Okay.
but not ROI. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not ROI.
Right.
So it was profitable, but not ROI. That said, right, because we open other stores in between, and what made us think that this will work, right, was very much inspiration from other countries, like in terms of coffee chain. And again, F&B, most of the times people always expect shorter ROI, right? And it's a matter of scale, how you become much more accessible and all. And again, we ended 2020 with 18, 19 stores, and they were all performing pretty much the same, like what we anticipated. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was just tweaks and tweaks and tweaks along the way that we constantly optimize. Let's just say rolling out different products that added to the top line, and then how we use scale to optimize bottom line. And that gave us more confidence to scale further lah.
Right.
Of course, I think one thing that we had an upper hand was that those who were involved in the business was very familiar in terms of how to scale businesses. I think the co-founders or even advisors or investors, right, have been in the scene for a while. So we sort of know, how much do we need, what sort of capital, maybe all of us just put in some money and all. And I think we had that luxury, or I wouldn't say luxury, but more of access lah.
Okay.
Right. I mean, if let's say today I run a cafe and I can make back within 12 months, I also have to think twice, where should I open my second store, or when
Right.
should I open my third store, right?
Right.
But for us at that point of time, we had access to capital. Was also much more easier for us to make that decision.
I will talk about the capital side of things later on. But I want to go back to the brand itself, right? So just now, whatever you mentioned, it gave me the impression that what you were doing was trying to stretch the limit, trying to scale, trying to do like the VC style of business. But within the ZUS brand itself, what's the core vision of ZUS? What do you want to achieve?
At that point of time,
Yeah.
early days, make
Yeah.
money lah.
To make money.
I think every business you set up to make money, right?
But coffee is such a challenging business. I mean, you have like all the different brands there. They're all doing fairly well. And ZUS, nobody heard of it before. So what was the odd that this can be a big thing, right?
Again, whether it can be a big thing or not, we don't know.
Right.
So that's why we were trying out different models and then constantly optimize. But again, I mentioned that inspiration that we've gotten from other countries, right? In terms of, if you look at it, yes, I agree with you that there are a lot of coffee chains. There are also a lot of fast coffee shops. If you go to most of the CBD areas, I remember back in the days, many, many years ago, right? You see a lot of entrepreneurs who come out, open a small kiosk, and then they sell coffee, 5 ringgit black, 5 ringgit white, that
Correct.
kind of, right?
Yeah.
You have a lot of individuals, and they all survive. The biggest problem in the market is that there is no one single chain that you can relate automatically. If I want fast coffee, who do I go to? And ZUS was there to fill in the gap. And of course, one of the things that we wanted to solve was very much selling good coffee at an affordable price lah.
Okay.
Yeah. So these were the problems in the market. Of course, the tech came into the picture because, again, we were familiar with it. And then second thing is that we find that it's very, very convenient. Yeah, because you can then order through the app and then pick up through the store. It saves a lot of time. Yeah, where, of course, early days, people don't really appreciate it. Then eventually it became like a thing, right? Another thing that contributed towards our scale, I think it's also timing lah. Yeah, timing, right? Because COVID came and the whole business model just suddenly makes sense, right? A lot of people were questioning, hey, why do I have to order coffee through the app?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can just go there, queue up, take my time, I can find time to snake, I snake lah, right? The whole landscape has just changed across, and it's like overnight kind of thing, right?
You were talking about tech, right? I think you call yourself a coffee tech company. That helps you to scale and change the entire landscape about fast coffee and stuff like that. But then the same question, you are not really the first person who come up with this concept. I mean, if you look at Starbucks, they also have their app. If you look at it, they are one of the largest bank in the sense that everybody deposit their money there and then they can redeem coffee and whatnot. But you bring it to the next level, right? You can order through the app, it delivers to you, and then you have that free delivery feature and stuff like that. So how do you piece all these together and make it different from your competitors and make it stand out ultimately? Because yes, today a lot of people copy your concept, but I don't think anyone has done it so well thought of compared to ZUS Coffee today.
It becomes very, very accessible, right? I mean, what we eventually realize is that, of course, coffee is a habitual thing, right? If, say, you are, I wouldn't say addicted to caffeine, but if you need caffeine every day, pretty much you will order, right? But having the app also helps you to build that habit. Because I realized, I shared earlier that we're looking at expansion, and I fly quite often these days. And every time when I wake up in a different country, then I'm like, I actually don't have an app to order coffee. And I get so used to it. I don't feel comfortable. Yeah, but it's that habitual thing that you have built, right? And we're very, very fortunate that with the app itself have helped us to build a very, very loyal customer pool or community. Yeah. And the tech itself, or just two steps back on the question in terms of what makes us different, what's the vision and all. Again, it was the very first version of the app was very much just a pickup and delivery app. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just something for you to tap on to order your drinks. And then I still remember back in the days, we don't really have what we have today, which is the ZUS balance, where you can just automatically deduct from your balance, right? Back in the days, it was like constantly having to log into your payment gateway. Then there's like additional 4 steps and before you can pay for your coffee. Yeah, so it was a constant evolution in terms of the platform itself. But what we were constantly obsessed is really the UI UX of the app. Yeah, I think that's the difference, right? Of course, a lot of people would say that, we are far more superior. I think one thing is that, again, we are a bit more familiar in that space. Second thing, we have our own internal tech team that helps to do this. And the obsession with the whole UI UX is that I just want to make sure that it's very convenient and easy to use. Yeah, of course, then we adopt a lot of e-commerce principles, right, where you try to cut short the number of taps to make sure that you can check out as fast as you can. We track a lot of things like your drop-off rate and stuff, which helps us to do things much better.
I'm just fascinated that you can order coffee through the app and it will be delivered to you for free. Whereas, if you order Grab food or whatever, at least they will charge you like 3-4 ringgit, right? So do you have like a special arrangement with this delivery companies and all that?
I wish.
You wish. So it comes out from your pocket and eats into your margin.
Again, these are concepts where e-commerce have always been doing it, right, for the longest time, right?
Right.
I mean, back in the days, I remember 2015, 2016, I used to run another e-commerce grocery business, right? And what people always do is try to achieve a basket size and then get free delivery. Yeah, it's the same thing for us. Ultimately, in the F&B business, you look into your basket size. How do I encourage higher basket size? Is when I implement a free delivery, then you will hit that number. Then you start telling your friends, hey, you want to buy ZUS? Even if you only drink 3 cups, you probably buy 4 just because you don't want to pay for delivery fees, right? Yeah, and then the more caffeine you drink, maybe the next day you need more caffeine again.
Yeah,
then
you
come
drink
back
2
to
instead
us.
of 1.
Yeah. So it becomes then, again, you're building that habit and building that brand presence among their peers as well, right? So I think a lot of all these connecting with each other. But again, the thought at that point, did we think that deep during that time? Not really, I would say. But the whole idea is very much just, let's give free delivery because it's going to be X amount of percentage of my sales. Yeah. And I'm not going to dive too deep in terms of the unit economics, but ultimately it's just really how well thought in terms of the financial point. I think a lot of people are missing out is really the unit economics. Yeah, they don't dive deeper in terms of, how much am I paying to this? How can I save and translate that and save the other 2-3% which translate into your margin, right?
Right.
Yeah, which commercially makes sense for us. Yeah.
Which is my next question actually. So for delivery, you need to come up from your own pocket. Your coffee is very affordably priced. Coffee prices today going up like crazy. how do you protect your margin?
I think fortunately, in the earlier days, our margins were not as good.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't leverage on scale, right? Then over years, when it was increasing, we were also increasing in terms of number of stores. We were also increasing in terms of number of, our volume, right? That naturally gave us the advantage to leverage on scale and not be that affected by cost increase. Yeah, but of course, I think these 2 years has been more significant. 2024, we have actually locked down all of those since 2023. So it was really much advanced forecast.
Okay.
2025, there may be a bit of effect. But then again, we're trying to optimize a lot of things, like say, utilize running things much better, cutting certain costs, optimizing logistics costs, and how do we stack certain things together rather than stacking 2 boxes, stack 1 box, that kind. Then from all of those savings, then we can pass down to customers.
Right.
Yeah, so we were constantly looking at all of these to maintain our prices and making sure that we uphold the values of necessity and not luxury.
That's a very bold move, right? For 2023, you hedged the entire 2024 supply of coffee.
No, I wouldn't say that we. It's very much you already know how many stores you want to open, right? And roughly you have the data in terms of how much revenue are you going to generate and all. So yeah, it's just really forecasting in advance. Yeah, of course, again, when you have more stores, then you have more channels for you to distribute. But if let's say you are a single or 2 store owner, maybe this year your sales is like that, next year it may drop. A lot of people wouldn't want to do that. But for us, it's like, if we can't send to Philippines, that kind of mindset, right?
Correct.
But
Understand.
A lot of times we always see, if let's say there's a dip, let's find something to fix it. Yeah, and that has always been a mindset. We never thought of, there's a dip lah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just now you mentioned Philippines. So how many countries is ZUS operating in right now?
The first country out of Malaysia is actually Philippines. So we started operations Q4 last year. We ended last year with 5 stores. As of now, we've got 70 over stores, and and
with an app also?
App as well.
Right.
And then we have opened in Singapore, 1 store in Singapore, and 1 store in Brunei.
Okay, so three countries lah.
4. Well, if you take Brunei as domestic, then it's 3 lah.
Right.
Brunei is a different country, so it's 4 countries.
Okay, Malaysia, Philippines, Brunei, and Singapore.
Yeah.
4. And any other expansion plans going forward, like to other countries?
Yes, we are looking into other countries.
Right.
Nothing firm up yet, but 2025 will be key for us. Key focus will be expansion.
Right. So you try to be the coffee for Southeast Asia lah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a hint. All right, that's a hint.
Yeah.
One thing that we discussed is that one of the reasons you get that confidence to scale is because you have very good financial backing. Can you share a little bit on this? Like, who's your backer? How did you manage to get to know them? That kind of things.
I wouldn't say very good financial backer lah, but it's just that friends, families, and fools who can afford to fund the business lah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Early days we had a franchise program, but the franchise program was mainly for, again, friends, families, and fools, where every one of us, we took up X amount of outlets, and then we were trying to work out on the unit economics, right, and also to de-risk across. Then when we wanted to scale, again, all of us did a cash call and put the money in and then grow that part of it. In 2021, banks were also more friendly to us. Yeah. And we took out debt. So we actually didn't raise any money until 2023. Yeah. Of course, along the years, there were, VCs, PEs that knock on our door. In end 2022, we did the whole process to run a process, and we finalized the deal in March 2023. Yeah, so that's where the Filipino partner came into the picture, which is Frank.
Right.
Yeah, and also whole reason why we expanded into the Philippines first, because he was able to give us access. That was the first round that we did. Okay. Yeah.
And how many stores are franchise and how many stores are owned by ZUS directly?
Actually, in fact, in Malaysia itself, those franchise stores, right, most of them are, or I would say that 99% of them are all owned by directors or shareholders.
Oh,
Yeah, there's
okay.
only one store that does not belong part of that group. Yeah, one single store, and that's also in the early days, very much legacy. Yeah, but most I would say, almost all the stores are corporate owned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, or if I were to put it, since the director and shareholder stores, right, technically all the stores are self-owned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Philippines, it's also the same thing. The stores are owned by ourselves. Singapore is also
Right.
owned by ourselves. And Brunei, it's on a franchise agreement.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I was going to ask whether you're going to keep it this way or are you going to start franchising out?
Yeah, so we're looking at international franchises. So we do have a department that oversees international franchise, which we set up sometime last year. It's been around for a year. So the whole year we've been working on, all the terms, making sure that we've got all the SOPs set up and stuff. And the first country that we went out from Malaysia on a franchise basis was Brunei. And we're exploring other countries as well.
Just now you mentioned you didn't really need a lot of funding. I mean, if you need money, you can go to the banks. The banks are friendly to you. But recently you secured a 250 million funding from QOP and also KV Asia Capital, right? What was this fund for?
The funny story is that I mentioned that there were constantly people knocking on our door.
All right.
Right. So I still remember it was a talk whereby, let's, since everyone's interested, let's put out a valuation and see if they want to take up. Yeah. So there were a few interested parties. Yeah, so KV was one of them, and we were very, very grateful that the team was very nice. The whole IC came to visit us on the first management presentation. So then we were like, okay, since there are people who were that serious about it, let's go with it. Yeah, so then we closed the 250 million deal recently. The whole objective or the whole thought process at that point of time was very much we're entrepreneurs, right? A lot of time we focus too much on pushing ourselves. Yeah, like tomorrow want to open, let's chong like that. But we don't really have like proper, I wouldn't say governance, but more on someone there to do a check and balance on us. Yeah. So then having KV Asia, QOP and Kapal Api, right, are all bigger. I mean, KV is a PE from Singapore. QOP is our retirement fund, and Kapal Api, it's a big conglomerate in Indonesia, right? These guys can play a check and balance role on whatever that we want to do. Right. And I think it's also a very good name on our cap table itself. I mean, all this while it has always been individuals and strategic, right? I mean, Frank was a strategic from Philippines. So yeah, that was the whole train of thought.
Now, you guys are still a private company, so it's very hard to gauge what is your company size, right? But there's a rumor saying that your valuation is around 1 billion to 1.5 billion ringgit. Do you have plans to go IPO? If you do, is that valuation a fair valuation to ZUS today?
I don't know what's fair. I think the focus for us is very much building the business rather than focusing on the valuation.
Right.
Yeah. If let's say we do everything right, I'm quite sure the valuation will come in. Yeah. I think that's the whole mindset and the thought for us.
Right.
We don't really, I wouldn't say we don't really care too much about valuation, but it's always less of a concern. The bigger concern is always making sure that the business works well, the business is sustainable in Malaysia, then becomes our core market. Everywhere else we go, we can be profitable. That is always the key. Yeah, and then everything will fall in place. Yeah.
Is there a plan to go public?
It has always been something that we can pull out from our pocket. We've moved from we moved in the big four auditors in the early days, just preparing in case if we need to IPO. But again, do we need to? We don't know. Yeah, it's just a matter of time and maximizing the value again.
Right.
But the key focus again is really on the growth.
Okay, if I may play this scenario, right? Because if let's say today you want to go IPO, I'm pretty sure this will be one of the questions that a lot of fund managers will ask you. I mean, they have experienced this before. In the past, we have Old Town, right? Old Town was run by the entrepreneurs, and then they sold it off to a professional fund managers, and the professional fund managers didn't really do quite well, partially because they are not in the F&B business. So I suppose they don't know how to run it as efficiently as the founders themselves. Then eventually Old Town becoming where they are today. So if, let's say for example, today we play this scenario that ZUS is going public, and how do you give the confidence to the investors that, you know, Vernon is going to be here, you know, Ian is going to be here, and everyone is going to be here to make sure that everything is run smoothly and efficiently and not, just wash hands.
I think how we see it, right? IPO is not an exit. Yeah, IPO is just another checkpoint. To again, like I said, access to capital these days is not that hard, right? There's a lot of dry powder. I think we all know. If you want to go that route, we can. But again, going the IPO route is very much challenging ourselves. Again, it's a total different thing, right? From running a business to making sure there's proper governance and then everything's in place, going public. It's a different experience for us. So we actually take that as a challenge. We actually take that as a challenge. And, you know, to us, it's a long way. It's a long way. I wouldn't say going IPO is like the finishing line, but it's very much just another water station in a marathon. Maybe a major checkpoint.
Because when you are managing like 600 store and beyond, I think the skill set needed is a lot different compared to just managing like 10,
Correct.
15, 20 stores, right?
Correct.
So perhaps the next question is, then how do you ensure the quality of ZUS, that if I buy from this outlet, is the same taste as the other outlet and the experience is also the same?
So what we have done in the early days until now is that I think the good thing is that we realize we're not a one-hit wonder. We don't want to be a one-hit wonder as well. So we've actually started to corporatize the business since early days, but also balancing between the corporate side of how you do things versus agility, right? So we've always had that, and we've hired a lot of professional managers in the company itself. I mean, we've got, you know, professional CFOs, and not all the co-founders are actually in the management team.
Okay.
And we've got, you know, professional VPs who have tons of experience, and come from reputable companies. They can add a lot of value to us, and that's one thing. That's how we continuously be able to do better. So I think one of the key things for us is very much talent. Second thing, to maintain that consistency, is really setting up automation.
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 What kind of automation can you do with a coffee chain?
Let's take 2 steps back and don't think about coffee chain.
Okay.
Let's think about McDonald's. There's actually a lot of automation in McDonald's, right?
That's true. The recipe, the manufacturing of patty.
In fact, everyone within McDonald's itself are very much operators. All they have to do is just really follow SOP. Your grills have your grills have temperatures, and these temperatures are controlled. Then your fryer will just dump in fries, and X amount of seconds it will stop, and all you have to do is just someone there to take it up and then start to remove all the oil, right? So these, and again, then when you buy a McFlurry, actually all you do is just pressing buttons, right? And these are things that we are exploring to make sure that along the way, as we expand and grow, it reduces a lot more burden on our baristas, and it creates that consistency across, just so that anywhere you go, you get that experience. And it's the same, like if today you go into McDonald's in Malaysia versus McDonald's in Philippines or Thailand, it pretty much tastes the same. I mean, there may be some differences, maybe because of your local barbecue sauce supply or your pickle supply and whatnot, right? But
it's
again,
very subtle, very small.
very subtle. It tastes slightly different, but that's about it.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to achieve. And now taking back again to the coffee scenario, it could start off with the coffee machine, then to the tools and the smallwares that we use, and making sure that you reduce as many steps as you can, or as many permutations, I would say. And if I again were to dive deeper, or if you understand coffee, right, a very conventional way of making coffee is definitely, first you need to grind your coffee. Before grinding it, you need to calibrate. Right, then you grind, then you tamp, then you pull your shot, right? If you want a latte, then you need to froth the milk. And again, there's so many steps, And these are all the variables that allows you to have a room for error lah. So what we're trying over the years, I still remember our very first machine was based on those steps. Then we had consistency issues and all. Of course, there's only so much that we can train, and of course then in F&B the turnover rate is also quite high, right? Yeah. Then what we did was really slowly closing it down, closing the gaps where we no longer require them to calibrate. The machine will automatically calibrate on a daily basis. Then we have automatic tempers, which means after it's grind, the machine, once you press, it will grind. It will temp, and then you just put it in, press a button, and it will pull shot. Frothing has automatic temperatures. These are the kind of things that we are doing.
I see.
But of course, along the way, in the entire operations itself, there is also a lot of things that we can optimize. And one thing that, again, yes, tech may sound very fluffy, right? But we do uphold tech internally. We've built a innovation center. It's not like a huge innovation center, but very much just wanting to make sure that we can constantly come out with new ways to solve existing problems. Yeah.
Interesting. Apart from the usual coffee that you sell, you guys are also going into FMCG. Right, you guys have the canned coffee. Why suddenly want to go there? Yeah, is it because you are seeing the margin squeeze on the usual coffee, so you quickly come up with the canned coffee so that you can continue to extend the product life cycle, or is there any other reason for doing that?
Just wanting you to drink more coffee. Yeah.
Or drink more coffee. More branding.
That's why the whole branding for the FMCG side of things, we call it ZUS Everywhere. Ultimately, what we want to do is to be able to bring ZUS to everywhere, right? Let's assume, we drink fresh brew every day. There are also a large segment of customers who don't drink fresh brew. Probably don't walk into a coffee chain. They probably go to a convenience store and buy their canned coffee. Yeah, it's a large segment, and I think a lot of people would know, because if you walk into a convenience store and you see like the whole shelf, there's like so many, right? That's one. Going into the instant side of things, similarly, a lot of people go to office or at home would just want to make their own coffee first before they leave. Then that increases your, or I would say that closing the gap of you not having a chance to drink ZUS, right? Say today, you may not have the opportunity to pass by one ZUS as much as we do have quite a fair bit of stores, or maybe you're just lazy to double park, right? If you have our instant coffee range, you probably have just drank coffee at home. Yeah. And then now, if let's say you're on a highway, you're taking a piss or whatnot, and then walk past somewhere and buy a can of coffee, right? Maybe you don't intend to drink coffee, but because you recognize ZUS and you just want something sweet or something, caffeine, then just buy ZUS lah. And that creates the on top of mind kind of branding, right? That's what we're trying to achieve lah.
Interesting. So where do you guys see yourself in the next 5 years? Have you stretched your target even further?
Everywhere. In Malaysia itself, we are quite mature, I would say, because currently we are like the largest coffee chain. In terms of FMCG side, there's still a long way for us to go, but we see that we'll be able to cultivate more people to drink coffee lah. Right, it's a homegrown brand. Everyone, quite a fair bit of people look up to us. We will be able to do all these. I think in Malaysia itself, over the next 5 years, foresee that it'll be strengthened as a more wholesome coffee brand. I wouldn't call ourselves a coffee chain anymore, but more wholesome coffee brand. Yeah, so you think of ZUS, we have a whole range of different kind of things. That's one. I think overseas wise, in terms of next 5 years, you'll probably see more stores, and hopefully Malaysians or Southeast Asians that go to all these countries and be able to say, hey, that comes from my part of the world, rather than for the longest time it has always been the Angmo brands and correct. So that's what we want to achieve over the next 5 years.
Maybe a target of one store a day, so 365 stores a year. Well,
that's not enough.
That's not enough.
That's not enough.
More than that.
Yeah, maybe one country said 65. I think it's okay. But no lah. There are some targets that we want to achieve lah. But that's definitely more than 365 stores a year. Because this year alone, we'll probably be doing 300-ish stores already. We ended last year with 360. Now we have 6+, ending the year with about probably close to 700 stores. So we almost double again from that, right? Then that's it. If I can do that in Malaysia, then the question is, hey, I can do that in Philippines as well.
Yeah, you have built a very successful coffee brand in Malaysia. I'm pretty sure people who are watching this right now, a lot of them, they are inspired to be a successful entrepreneur like yourself. So I think to end today's session, maybe there's something that you want to share with these people, like if they want to be as successful as you, what kind of mindset they should have, and how do they sustain that pressure day after day, year after year?
Okay, I think one thing that I've learned from a mentor from my early days up till now is this particular quote that says, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And it's true enough that we've experienced sometimes when we ask ourselves, why did that happen? It's really because you made that extra push to make this happen. Yeah. So I think that itself helped us to be where we are today. A lot of times you always pull back and say, maybe I cannot do it. And no, just work harder, just push for it. I think people would be able to achieve things.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. 365 not enough. Let's push 700.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same thought that we had, right? When we were able to open 180 stores a year, everyone was like, wow, no one has done this. 15 stores a month, that's crazy, right? Then we were like, oh, no, we're going to do 300 next year. Then everyone, you sure? Yeah, and we were like, oh, let's try it lah. And that's very much like almost one store a day, right? And we're pretty close to our target. So again, nothing is impossible, right? It's just really how much you want to push for it, how uncomfortable you're going to put yourself in. But again, I think we were in a very unique position because at that point of time, when we were doing this business, the joy was very much running the business because there's no other joy, right? It was at the peak of COVID. Yeah. So all we wanted was for the business to do well, and that was really fun. Yeah. So maybe put a bit of fun in whatever that you do, right?
Gamify your work.
Yeah, gamify
Right.
your work, make things fun.
Right.
We used to do all sorts of funny things at work and make things much more, how would I say, exciting lah.
Well, I'm glad I have you with me today because by next year, you'll be operating like 1,000 over stores, which by the time I think if I want to get you on the show, it's very hard already.
No lah.
So
that would mean that I have not done well enough to delegate, right? And set up over.
That's true. That's true. That's
so
true.
I think, again, that's the same thing that we constantly think about, right? How do we delegate? How do we make sure that, the biggest thing is that no one is indispensable, and how do I make sure that the business can still sustain if, let's say, one day we're no longer around? Is really to set up guidelines, principles, SOPs, and whatnot for the business to auto run. Yeah, and I think that's the key.
Great advice. Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for
having me.
Right.
Thanks.